Okay. So in the previous lecture, we have seen the Euclidean, the formulation of the Euclidean path integral, and we shall start from here today. And remember, that this propagator we had. This is in the imaginary time formalism, where we are using this tau, and this is related to that imaginary. So the actual propagator, you had a t here, and t you are now making it complex. Therefore, you have this propagator. And in this imaginary time formalism, what we have is we are using say q. So this was, so these are the boundary conditions. X tau, and then we have e to the power of minus 1 by h bar integral 0 to tau, or we can also write it in this way. Let me write it in this way: minus 1 by h bar s of t. So this is the Euclidean action, and the form of the Euclidean action is the following. The Euclidean action is given by integral 0 to tau dt. Then we have n by 2 x dot square t. So this is q dot square. This will be also q, sorry. This will be q. This will be, so let me write this as q and q prime. So u, function of q tau semicolon q prime comma 0. So 0 and tau, these are the initial and final times. Therefore, that is a path integral for dq from q prime 0 q tau e to the power of minus 1 by h bar se, where se is the Euclidean action, and that is given by q dot square t plus v of u. So this is the Euclidean action. This we have seen in the last lecture, and if you, the real meaning of this path integral is the following, that you can actually write this down as, if you remember correctly, you can, this is the formal way of writing the path integral, but you can actually write it in a discrete form, which is this. All these integrals are from minus infinity to plus infinity, and then we have factor of m by 2 pi I bar epsilon equal to the power of n by 2, and then we have e to the power of minus epsilon by h bar summation n minus 1, and then we will have n by 2 q n plus 1 2 n whole square, and then we will have a minus v. So this is what we shall have, and so this is the discrete form of this path integral. And I guess this factor of I will not be here probably. This will be just like this. You can just check it. I just leave a question mark here. You just check whether a factor of I will be here or not. What you do is you start from the discrete form, the actual form of the path integral written down in real time, and then what you do is make a analytical continuation of this time variable to the imaginary time and see what you get in the discrete form. I think there will be no I sitting over here. Just check it. In any case, what you can do is you can start from this. You can start from this path integral. What I shall show you now is that I shall show you the result for the free particle where this v is 0. So this will be a plus. Sorry, this is a plus. This should be a plus. You should also check this one. This is surely a plus. So what you can do is for the free particle, this is 0, and you can start calculating the Euclidean path integral from first principles. As we did it in the free particle case earlier, you can take, you should also remember that here you have limit epsilon going to 0 and capital N tending to infinity. These are the limits. So you have divided the time interval into n slices, and you're taking each time interval is infinitesimally small. So you have infinitely many time intervals, time slices. Therefore, you have to perform an infinite number of integrals from minus infinity to plus infinity. This is what we have to do, and we have done it earlier for the free particle case. But now we want to do it for the Euclidean case, in the imaginary time format. So what you can do, I just leave it as an exercise for you to do. You just start from here. This is in any case, this term for free particle is 0, so this term is gone. So you start from here and you do all the integrals term by term. And once again, the technique is the same, because you have to find out a pattern, and you carry out all the. You have to find out a pattern, and then you can write down what will be the. When you compute the first integral, you compute the second integral, and then you can say from there what will be the nth integral, and you write it down and check what you get, what answer you get for the Euclidean path integral in the free particle case. But this thing I leave to you as a homework. You please do it. But what? Just a minute. Plug in or find another power source. Okay. So what I have to do? Just a minute. There is some problem, I think, with the power source. Just a minute. It just comes in a moment. Okay. Just okay. We can now continue. I think I put them on. Okay. So, as what I was mentioning is that you please check, start from here, and do all the integrals term by term from first principles, and see what answer do you get. But we shall not do it in this way. What we shall do it, we shall find the answer for this in a very simple way, because we already know what is the answer for the free particle case, the real-time formalism, and the answer there, if you remember correctly, it was m by 2 pi I h bar t square root e to the power of I n by 2, I guess it is 2h bar p q minus q prime whole square. This was the answer for the free particle, right? And you remember that t is basically minus I of tau. When I take this t to the imaginary time, so this t is now analytically continued to the complex plane. So you just make a rotation of the time axis. So this tau is real now. So you make this substitution in this result for the free particle, and if you do that, what you will get is the following: t. So I tau is tau. I t is tau, and therefore you will have 2 pi h bar tau square root e to the power of minus. So this is minus yes. বাকি এসো একটু আগে দেখালো যে একটা পাওয়ার সোর্সে একটা গন্ডগোল হয়েছে, প্লাগিং দ্য পাওয়ার সোর্স। ওইদিকে দেখলাম অন আছে, আমি এই দুটোকে সুইচ অন করে দিচ্ছি। এটা অন মানে আমি জানি না, মানে অন আছে হয়েছে কিনা, আলো জ্বলছে না ওইটা। পাওয়ার সোর্সটা কি দেখাচ্ছে যে অন আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, চার্জিং হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ
চার্জিং হচ্ছে।
এটা অফ ছিল,
এটা অফ ছিল।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, ওকে থ্যাংক ইউ। কিছু না কিছু একটা গন্ডগোল হবেই। Okay, so what you do is you put in t is equal to minus I tau over here. So I and I will get cancelled, and therefore you will have n by 2 h bar tau q minus q prime squared. So this is the answer for the Euclidean path integral. So u q tau semicolon q prime comma 0. The answer is this for the free particle. And what I just mentioned a couple of minutes back is that you start from here and try to get this result from first principles by doing all the integrals. Please do it. The difference between the real time result and this imaginary time result, the Euclidean path integral result, is that this factor is now no more a oscillating factor, but instead this factor is exponentially suppressed. It's an exponentially decaying factor. It's a Gaussian factor. This factor, and also you don't have an I sitting over here. It is completely real. This number is this full result is a real number. This tau is real. This is exponentially suppressed, and this factor is also real. So this is a free particle result that you can simply calculate from the free particle result in the real time, make an analytic contribution, and get it. So now what we shall do is we shall look into statistical mechanics. So in statistical mechanics, we know that the partition function, this is the most important quantity in statistical mechanics. The partition function, you can write it down as summation over n to the power of minus beta en, where En is energy of the nth eigenstate of the Hamiltonian H hat. So you have an Hamiltonian H hat, and the energy of the nth eigenstate of this Hamiltonian is En, and the partition function of the system can be written as this. And this, I think you are familiar with, that you can write this as trace of e to the power of minus beta h hat, right? I think you are familiar with this. So actually this is the definition of the partition function, and from here you can basically write, since this is a trace, therefore you can write it in this way: summation over n get n e to the power of minus beta h hat get n. So this actually takes the trace, and since these are eigenstates of the Hamiltonian, therefore you can write this down as summation over n e to the power of minus beta en, and then you have Bryan and Ketten, that is 1, and and therefore you get this result. So you actually get this from this. So this is just very elementary statistical mechanics right on the partition function. And now what we shall do is, you know that the trace of an operator is invariant if you make under a unitary change of basis. So this basis was the energy eigenbasis of this Hamiltonian, but now you can also calculate that since the trace is invariant under a unitary change of the basis, therefore you can also calculate the trace in the position representation. So you can write the trace in this way. Both these will give us the same result. So this is equal to this. This is also equal to this. You can write down the trace in this way. But this thing is nothing but, you can actually put an h bar over here and divide by a h bar over here, and therefore this object is nothing but q, this propagator, q beta h bar q comma 0, and then you have an integral over dq from minus infinity to plus infinity. So you please recall, I would ask you to recall that we had actually calculated earlier in the real-time formalism these kind of things. We had calculated the spatial integral of the propagator, and this partition function is nothing but the spatial integral of this propagator, with the only difference that we have a beta h bar sitting over here. So in place of time, we have a beta h bar, and what is beta? Beta, by the way, this is by definition, this beta is 1 by kBT. K is Boltzmann constant, and T is the temperature, absolute temperature. So this object we have actually calculated earlier in some earlier lecture, and we have encountered this object once more. But we know that this has a path integral representation, and therefore you can write this down as, this integral is an ordinary integral from minus infinity to plus infinity, but this is the propagator, and we have already written down a path integral representation for the propagator, and this will be dq q0 q beta h bar. So this is what we have, and then we have u power of minus 1 by h bar integral. So here the Euclidean action will be there, the Euclidean action. So what you will get is 0 beta h bar, and then you know the Hamiltonian of the system can be written as m by 2 q dot square. You can put any variable here because this is a dummy variable of integration q square t plus v. Okay. You can call this t, or you can call this tau, whatever you like, because this is a dummy variable. But the important thing is that this sign is plus. This is a Euclidean action. That is the important thing, and therefore you can see that the partition function, which is basically a function of beta, it is a function of, when you carry out this sum, this will be a function of the temperature. This partition function z beta, z function of beta, can be written in this way as a path integral, right? So you have an ordinary integral over q, And then you have a path integral dq from q0 to q beta h bar e to the power of minus 1 by h bar integral 0 to beta h bar and this thing. So you can see that the partition function in statistical mechanics can be written down in this way. But now you can make an important interpretation. You see that suppose here in this case this is the partition function of a system, and here there is no time, right? There is only temperature. There is no time here. And since we have taken that this is equal to this thing, we are considering that we are in one spatial dimension. Okay, so this is the partition function of a system, of a one-dimensional system, one spatial dimension. So you have this, but this partition function can be written as this thing. Here you find that you have one spatial dimension, and this beta h bar, which is basically h bar by kbt. So so if you set h bar to be equal to 1, if you set h bar equals 1 and kb equals 1, then this factor is essentially inverse of temperature. This beta h bar is inverse of temperature. But this inverse of temperature here is playing the role of time, right? It is in the imaginary time formalism, this inverse of temperature is playing the role of time. And therefore, a statistical mechanics problem in one spatial dimension is the same as a theory, I should not say, I will not use the word quantum field theory, but it is a theory. This is a Euclidean theory, Euclidean quantum mechanical theory in 1+1 dimension, right? Because here this is a Euclidean theory, this is a Euclidean path integral, and this theory has one spatial dimension and one time dimension. And this is there is no time here, this is one spatial dimension. So in general, the statement is that a d+1 dimensional Euclidean quantum field theory can be related to a d-dimensional quantum statistical system, since the Euclidean time interval can be consistently identified with inverse of temperature. Is this point clear? So now you can see that there is a correspondence between a quantum mechanical theory in some dimension to a statistical mechanical theory in one dimension less. This you can interpret as a quantum mechanical theory in one spatial dimension and one time dimension. This is now your time. This is same as a statistical mechanical theory, a theory in statistical mechanics in one spatial dimension. So now you can see that there is a correspondence between a problem in statistical mechanics with a problem in quantum mechanics, where this thing is, you can say in the way that this is a Euclidean quantum mechanics, because now you have gone to the Euclidean imaginary time formalism, and therefore here you have the Euclidean Lagrangian or the Euclidean action. So you can see that there is a correspondence between statistical mechanics and quantum mechanics, more generally a Euclidean quantum field theory in d+1 dimensions can be identified in the d-dimensional quantum statistical system. This is a quantum statistical system, and this is a Euclidean theory. Is this point clear? Is this correspondence clear? Here beta was not playing, beta was not time. You had only one spatial dimension. Here you have one spatial dimension, but beta h bar, this beta factor, is now playing the role of time. And therefore, a time dimension has increased.
Sir,
Ah,
Hamiltonian in the form of the Hamiltonian for
mhm.
the Q part, we are making it a function of 1 by temperature. Uh,
Which one?
the last line for quantum mechanical case when we are writing the integral q dot tau whole square, that integral here
Yes.
tau equals to 1 by temperature. Sir,
No, 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 no.
how,
Don't think it in this way. This tau here is just a dummy integration variable whose lower limit is 0 and upper limit is 1 by temperature.
oh, okay.
Okay, you are
Uh,
right that you are correct. You are not totally wrong. This tau must have the same dimension as beta h bar.
yes,
So it must have the same dimension of inverse of temperature. But what is important here is that this is the Euclidean path integral, right? But you know that this upper limit has the interpretation of time.
okay, yeah,
So that is
Sir,
why,
but beta h bar will have dimension of time only because beta has 1 by kbt and then h bar that will have
correct,
time dimension of time.
correct, absolutely, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. Beta h bar has the dimension of time. Absolutely.
okay, sir.
But here you don't have any interpretation of beta as time in the statistical counterpart. In the quantum statistical system, this beta you do not interpret it as time, right? It is
Yes,
inverse of temperature. But
yes,
here you interpret this beta h bar as the dimension of time, and therefore this is a one spatial dimension theory, but it also has a one time dimension. And this time dimension, this is a Euclidean theory because this sign has changed. This Lagrangian, you should have a minus sign over here, but you have a plus sign. So this is a Euclidean theory in one time dimension more.
okay, sir.
Okay. So this is the correspondence with statistical mechanics and a quantum field theory. Actually, the correspondence is between a field theory in d plus one dimension, as I mentioned, with a quantum statistical system in d dimensions, and quantum field theory, Euclidean quantum field theory in d plus one dimensions. But since we have not studied quantum field theory so far, so we should not use the term quantum field theory here because we have not encountered what the quantum field theory is. But we have definitely encountered what a classical field theory is because we have studied electrodynamics. Okay. So now what we should, yes.
Can you say that the statistical mechanics is a boundary theory and whether the Euclidean theory, Euclidean quantum field theory, bulk theory, how can we say?
So we shall let us not go into that now. What is here? See, you don't have any boundary or anything, right? So let us not go into those things. That this is a bulk theory, this is a boundary theory. We should not go into that thing right now. Because what is bulk here? What is boundary here? So let us not go into those subtleties. So what we shall now do is let us calculate. So we shall calculate the partition function in two ways for a harmonic oscillator, for a quantum harmonic oscillator. So we know Z beta is summation over n, and that is equal to 0 to infinity beta here. So let's look at the partition function of a one-dimensional quantum harmonic oscillator, and we know that it is given by this, and we know the energy eigenvalues. So these are the energy eigenvalues, and this is the 0-point energy, and therefore what we can do is you can take this factor out, beta h bar omega by 2, and then we have this e to the power of minus beta h bar omega n. And this thing is e to the power of minus beta h bar omega by 2. And then you just expand this thing 1 plus e to the power of minus beta h bar omega plus e to the power of minus 2 beta h bar omega plus dot. So we have this. Therefore, this is equal to minus beta omega by 2. And this is an infinite beta GP series, geometric progression series. These are the common ratio, which is less than 1 obviously, because it is an exponentially decaying factor, and therefore this is 1 minus this, and if I pull this down, then this will give us e to the power of beta h bar omega by 2 minus e to the power of minus beta h bar omega by 2. So this is what we shall have, and therefore this is equal to 1 by y 2 sine hyperbolic beta h bar omega. So this is the answer, standard answer for the partition function of a quantum of a one-dimensional quantum harmonic oscillator. This is the result. Okay. And once you have the partition function, you can immediately calculate the free energy. So the free energy is given by e to the power of minus beta f, and therefore you just calculate the free energy. Once you have the free energy, you can calculate the internal energy of this harmonic oscillator system, and you can calculate various other thermodynamic quantities, and look at various things that we usually do in thermodynamics, like look at the low temperature behavior, high temperature behavior, and so on. What we shall now do is we shall not we have done the calculation in this way by using the standard formula in statistical mechanics. But now we shall do it from the path integral approach. Let us see whether we get to the same answer as we have it here from the path integral approach. Because we have developed a formula for the partition function in terms of a Euclidean path integral. So we have a formula for the Euclidean path integral, but what we shall do is we shall now use a result that I shall prove in the subsequent lectures. So what I shall do is I shall take the formula for the propagator of a harmonic oscillator. So this is in real time. This is not imaginary time. And the result for the propagator for the harmonic oscillator is the following: m omega by 2 pi I h bar sine omega t into e to the power of I by h bar So this is the result for the harmonic oscillator, the propagator for the harmonic oscillator, and this SQ classical is given by the following expression. It is m omega by twice sine omega t q square plus 2y square. Then we have cos omega t minus qi qf so this is the expression for the propagator of a quantum harmonic oscillator in one dimension. This we have not derived so far, but we shall do this calculation in the subsequent lectures. We shall try to get this expression for the propagator of the harmonic oscillator. But for the time being, what I am doing is I am just borrowing the expression for the propagator. So just take it that this is the result. We shall prove it later. And now what you do, this is, as I mentioned, that this is in the real time. This is the real time result. And now we just need to get the imaginary time propagator. And with that we can calculate the partition function. So from here, you can immediately calculate what is so instead of t now, we have beta h bar sitting over here. And how is it related to this capital T? Remember that capital T is equal to minus I beta h bar. So what you do, so now we have gone to the imaginary time formalism because this T is now analytically continued to the complex plane and therefore this is complex. Therefore what you just do is you just substitute this capital T is equal to minus I beta h bar in this result and see what you get. So this will be n by 2 pi I h bar sine omega minus so this is what we have, and then we have e to the power of this. Okay, so this is I by h bar m omega by sine omega. Once again you have this, therefore this is minus I. I hope you can see this part. Minus I omega beta h bar. This is this factor. Then you have times qf square. Can you see this? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I shall try to write it down. In the next step, I shall write it down on that side, so it is more clear. So this multiplied by cosine of omega t, but omega t is once again minus I omega beta h bar minus twice qy qf. So this is what we have. So now,
Sir, there will be a square root.
where
The
this is
the
the square.
coefficient. Yeah.
This is the square root, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you have a square root there, and now what we shall have is the following. Okay, so just let us look at this factor I sine this thing. So this is I sine of minus I omega beta h bar. So that you can just, this is just simple algebra. You can write this thing as 1 by 2i e to the power of, so this is minus I omega beta h bar. So sine of this, so this will be I into minus this, because sine of theta is e to the power of I theta minus e to the power of minus I theta. So you have this minus I, and then once again minus I omega beta h bar. Okay, so that is what we have. This I and this I cancels, and therefore we have 1 by 2 e to the power of this I into minus I, this is plus, therefore we have beta h bar omega minus, and this minus I into minus I, this is minus, so this we will have beta h bar minus beta h bar omega, and divided by 2, therefore this is nothing but sine hyperbolic of beta h bar omega. Okay, so this I times this full thing is nothing but sine hyperbolic of beta h bar omega. And similarly, we'll have the same thing over here. So you also have sine of minus I and this thing, and you have a I upstairs in the numerator, and here you also have a cosine of minus I omega beta h bar. So if you do the same algebra as I've just done here, if you do the same thing, then you can finally write the propagator in this way. The final thing that we shall get is the following. It will be n omega divided by 2 pi h bar sine hyperbolic beta h bar omega square root into e to the power of minus 1 by 2 h bar m omega by sine hyperbolic beta h bar omega. This is for this factor, and then you have this thing multiplied by twice. Okay, so now we should be a little bit careful, because you remember, so as I mentioned, that this is the formula. Here you have gone to the imaginary time formalism, but you should remember that in the partition function expression, these q's are the same, right? Because you are taking a trace, we have taken a trace in the position representation using the position eigenbasis, and therefore in the position basis, and therefore these qf's and qi's are the same. So this is okay, and therefore if you have qf equal to qi is equal to q, therefore this will contribute a factor of 2q square. So we have 2q square, then that multiplied by cosine cos hyperbolic of beta h bar omega, that is what we have, minus 1. So if you again do the same algebra, you just convert these two exponentials and then try to combine it with this I, So you just convert it to an exponential, and you can write it down as a cos hyperbolic thing, and therefore you will have this result. Remember that this is the propagator with these two set to the same value. This qi and qf is set equal to q, because that is what enters into the expression for the partition function. So once you have the expression for the propagator, the partition function is now simple to calculate. So this thing is basically given by minus infinity to plus infinity d of q. So this thing was q to the power of minus beta h hat q, and this object we wrote it as a propagator, which is nothing but this expression, right? And we have the expression for this. Just substitute it over here. This will give us minus infinity plus infinity. This factor does not contain any q, so that will go outside. So let me call this factor. Let me call this. This is the factor which is independent of q. So I just call this to be this object. Therefore, that goes outside. So that object goes outside. And then we have dq. Then we have e to the power of minus m omega by 2 h bar sine hyperbolic beta h bar omega times twice cosine hyperbolic beta h bar omega minus 1. So can get rid of this multiplied by a q square. So what you can see is that this 2 and this 2 will cancel. So you have a integral like this. It's a very simple integral because it's a Gaussian integral in Q. You can do it immediately. Therefore, z of beta is equal to, so this factor you have, this is this factor in front. So let me write it down now. This is m omega by 2 pi h bar sine hyperbolic beta h bar omega times the Gaussian integral in Q. Therefore, we will have pi divided by m omega h bar sine hyperbolic beta bar omega So this is your result. Now we have to do some simplifications, which are not that difficult. You can immediately see that this pi h bar factor has cancelled away. This factor has also cancelled, also gone, and this is also gone. Therefore, what we have is 1 by 2 square root coming from this thing, and this is cos hyperbolic beta h bar omega minus 1 under square root. This is basically sine hyperbolic square beta h bar omega 2 square. Okay, and therefore this square root and this square root gives you a 2. Therefore, you have 2 sine hyperbolic beta h bar. So you get back, you have done the computation of the partition function now from the Euclidean path integral formula for the partition function. So you get the same result. But it is a lot of hard work because you can see that you can get the result immediately, right? You can get the result for the partition function of a simple harmonic oscillator, quantum harmonic oscillator in one dimension very easily. You know the energy eigenvalues, so just compute the trace of that object of the partition of e to the power of minus beta h hat in the energy eigenbasis, and then you just need to do a geometric progression, infinite geometric GP series thing. You just sum it up and you get the result for the partition function for the harmonic oscillator. That is a very simple calculation, and the result that you get is this. But now what we have done today is calculate the partition function by using the Euclidean path integral formula. And there, in the Euclidean path integral formula for path integral representation for the partition function of the quantum statistical system, what you need is the expression for the propagator in the first place. You have a formula for that, but you need to calculate the expression for the propagator. And the propagator expression is itself quite big, and as we shall see in the next lecture, that it takes quite a lot of work to calculate the propagator in the first place. So once you calculate the propagator, which we have not done, we have borrowed the result here. Once you have the expression for the propagator in real time, you now make a analytic continuation to get the imaginary time result for the propagator. Once you get the expression for the propagator in the imaginary time formalism, then you just need to perform an integral over Q, because the partition function is basically the trace. So it's basically a spatial integral of the propagator in the imaginary time formalism. So we have, this is the expression for the propagator in the imaginary time formalism. You now perform a spatial integral over Q. When you do it, you get the result. So that is quite a lot of hard work to get to the partition function, but it is also quite remarkable that you get the expression for the partition function from a completely different point of view, from a completely different philosophical point of view. You get it from a path integral formulation. But so you are sure, one thing you are sure that what you are doing is correct, because you should try to get or try to reproduce a result. If you can reproduce a physical result or a calculation by using many different methods, then that actually reassures that your result is correct. That is a very good check that what you are doing is correct. This is number one. And you also have some expertise in doing these kind of computations. So you can apply or you can try to do a path integral calculation to calculate the partition function in some more complicated systems where a simple calculation would not be possible. This is another thing. Not only that, these techniques, as I've been mentioning to you many times, these techniques, you have to use these techniques when you do quantum field theory. Quantum field theory or statistical field theory, whatever. So when you do statistical field theory, these techniques, you have to have some grasp over these techniques, and therefore these techniques are very important. You need to learn these techniques. So what we shall do in the next lecture is the following: that we shall try to calculate now the expression for the propagator of the quantum harmonic oscillator in one spatial dimension. This we shall do in the next lecture. So I think it is a good point to stop now. What we have learned in the last lecture and today's lecture, what we have learned is we have seen a connection between a quantum statistical system with the Euclidean path integral formalism, with the Euclidean path integral result. We have seen a connection between the two. So it's a connection, basically a connection between the quantum mechanics, a quantum mechanical theory in one time dimension mode with a quantum statistical system. So we have seen that connection. We have seen this imaginary time formalism. These are the two things that we have learned. and we have learned and we have applied it to a quantum harmonic oscillator in one dimension, and we have calculated the partition function using the Euclidean path integral. So this is a completely different calculation that we have, a completely different way of computing the partition function that we have learned in today's lecture. In the next class, we shall continue from here. So thank you very much. So at this moment, I would, if you have some questions, you can ask me at this moment. So we can take a couple of questions maybe. Otherwise, we can end this discussion for today. Is this computation clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it is not a matter of computation also. It is also a matter of it is a very deep connection between a quantum statistical system and a quantum field theory, a Euclidean quantum field theory. So you can see that you can calculate the partition function of a quantum statistical system using a Euclidean path integral. So you can do statistical mechanics using path integral formulation.
Sir, one thing I was trying to understand that statistical mechanics connects classical mechanics with quantum mechanics. As we are doing Euclidean path integral, it is sort of between classical and quantum mechanics. That's why we are getting this result.
No, see, I'm not sure about your first statement that statistical mechanics connects between classical mechanics and quantum mechanics. That I'm not sure, because you can do statistical mechanics for a classical system also, where there is no quantum mechanics, right? The particles
Yes.
are all classical particles. So it is not true that statistical mechanics gives you a connection between a classical system and a quantum mechanical system. But what statistical mechanics basically does is that it gives you a microscopic picture of a thermodynamic system.
Yes.
It gives you a reasoning of the thermodynamic parameters that you see in the macroscopic world from a microscopic point of view. But that microscopic point of view can be classical also. Means, for example, Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. That is completely classical statistics. That is not quantum statistics, right? But it is a
Yes.
microscopic picture, definitely. But the particles are there. The particles there are distinguishable, and they obey the classical rules. Since they are distinguishable, therefore there is no Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You can follow their trajectories. Their trajectories are well defined in Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics. So it is not true that whenever you do microscopic picture, it must be quantum. It is not quantum there. Only when you do Bose-Einstein statistics and Fermi-Dirac statistics, which we shall also come in some later discussion when we discuss identical particles. Only when you do Bose-Einstein statistics and Fermi-Dirac statistics that your microscopic picture is now quantum is now intrinsically quantum in nature. Okay, so it is not true that statistical mechanics gives you a connection between classical and quantum. It does sometimes, but not always. But this is a very generic connection that you can see from here. That statistical mechanics, what it basically tells at a computational level, it basically tells us that you can calculate the partition function of a quantum statistical system using Euclidean path integrals. Using Euclidean path integral also you can calculate the partition function of a statistical mechanical problem. That is what it says. And now you can apply it to various cases in statistical mechanics. And what you can, so this is a very powerful technique, I must say, that you can attack problems in statistical mechanics using path integrals.
Yes.
Right? You can,
Yes.
the path integral technique can be used to attack problems in statistical mechanics. So this is like a new tool that you have learned. You can use it as a new tool to attack problems in statistical mechanics.
Yes.
So that is what is very important. So we shall continue from here in the next class, and we shall compute the propagator of the quantum harmonic oscillator in one dimension. Okay, thank you very much for today. So let us stop here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.